Hey, what's going on out there, world? It's your main man, Tommy, on the spot. Welcome to today's edition of the Watchalong Wrestling Podcast. If you've been joining me over the last couple of days, we broke down Raw and SmackDown, and it is officially SummerSlam week here in Brooklyn, here in New York. I mean, I'm actually right now in Queens. However, I will be in Brooklyn tomorrow. I work in Brooklyn, and so excited to be here with you guys, man. This is awesome. Whether or not you love all what WWE's done kind of in the build-up to SummerSlam, whether you love everything that's been going on with SummerSlam, it's a cool show, man. This is the second biggest show of the year for WWE, and it should be a lot of fun. So welcome to today's edition, though, of the show. What I will talk about here on today's show is going to be the original NXT Takeover Brooklyn. So for those of you who don't know, WWE SummerSlam was always something that kind of came out and had its own venue for a number of years. You know, SummerSlam 91 right here at MSG, SummerSlam 92 over in London, England, SummerSlam 93, which we went over, which we actually did a Watchalong Wrestling podcast, an early episode 2 on SummerSlam 93 from the Palace of Auburn Hills, so on and so forth. Then I believe it was 2009, maybe 2010, WWE moved SummerSlam over pretty much on a permanent basis, at least for a number of years, in LA at the Staples Center. So every single year, SummerSlam took place in LA. And then in 2015, one of the happiest times in my personal life as a WWE fan, it was announced that WWE was bringing SummerSlam right here to New York, Barclays Center, and they did so, and they've been here ever since. And now this week marks the 4th year in a row in which WWE is bringing SummerSlam festivities and the SummerSlam weekend right here to Brooklyn, New York. So it's good times, man, and we're excited about it. And whether or not you're in love with everything going on in terms of the build-up so far to SummerSlam, it's just cool to have everything going on at the same time. I know I had some friends who were over at the Yankees game and got to see Charlotte Flair and AJ Styles and Bobby Lashley out there taking batting practice. WWE's building up videos all throughout on their YouTube pages, on their WWE Network, on the app, video diary with AJ Styles, whole bunch of craziness just to kind of hype pieces to get you excited for the show. And that's why we're here today. Not only have I been a big WWE fan since its inception, but since NXT moved to Full Sail University, it's kind of been something that I've always really enjoyed. Back in 2013, I got the opportunity to volunteer over at Access, and in doing so, and in volunteering, one of the things I got to do was hang out and do some of the different matches for NXT, some of the live matches they had on during WWE Access. One of the things I really enjoyed about that was it gave me a chance to kind of be up close and personal and see some of the developmental territory really up close and personal. This is like during the time period when the Wyatt family was really big over there. Seth Rollins was the first ever NXT champ. Big E was the champ after that. So you really got a sense for what NXT was. Then in 2015, when I made my way to California for WrestleMania 31, NXT did a live show, and it suddenly started to dawn on me, at least, that NXT had arrived. This was like the hottest ticket to get. Place was super amped for it. People were stoked for it. You had people that were there for Hideo Itami, people that were there for Finn Balor, people that were there for Charlotte Flair. And suddenly it started to become, really with the inception of the network, but really that show, that house show, it was just a live event. It wasn't even a takeover or anything. That happened right the couple days before WrestleMania that really kicked everything off and led to the beginning of the NXT kind of boom period, so to speak. And it kind of came to an apex with NXT Takeover Brooklyn. They announced that for the first time, NXT would be coming to the Barclays Center. So now you had NXT the day before SummerSlam, and then you had Raw the night after SummerSlam, all taking place at the Barclays Center, and it was a huge deal. NXT was, think about this here for a second. On the pre-show, before this even begins, when they taped NXT, and you can watch this actually if you watch the episode after NXT Takeover Brooklyn 1, if you go on the network and kind of look for that. I'm just going to go through the matches that were on that particular show. You had Eva Marie going up against Carmella. That's right, Carmella, the SmackDown Women's Champ. You had Bull Dempsey win in a quick squash over Elias Samson. Yes, That's Elias. The guitar. Hello, my name's Elias. That guy. What does WWE stand for? He was there. Then you had a Four Corners women's match featuring Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Emma, and Dana Brooke. All of them now are on the main roster. And that, well, I guess not Emma anymore, but she was on the main roster. And then you had an 8-man tag. And this was the first match of the evening. Got everyone super stoked. You had American Alpha and the Revival teaming up to take on the Hype Bros, Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder, and Enzo and Cass. And this was at the absolute peak of Enzo and Cass. Coming out in Brooklyn, people were so into Enzo and Cass. People were so excited about them. And I just remember everyone, you know, really kind of doing the Enzo chants. We want Enzo the whole night. This is when Enzo Amore was like huge. And I think TMZ Sports put out something that he's done with wrestling forever. And hey, if he can make it on his own, more power to him. But man, he was one of the most over acts, and NXT had him. So that was just on the pre-show. But let's get into NXT Takeover Brooklyn now. We're going to watch the show in full. I'm going to have it streaming right here on the computer here. And also, if you guys that are watching along, if you guys want to chime in with some of your memories of NXT Takeover Brooklyn, feel free to do so in the chat. I'll read your comments as we go along here. But if you're about to tune in on the WWE Network and you're watching NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 2015 and you have it queued up, I've already gone through that whole little deal with they bring you the TV 14. So we're about to get started. We're going to get going. We're going to talk about everything as it goes along, and we're going to do so in about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're off. And you'll see the really cool opening here featuring Triple H. And I'll kind of get into what he was trying to do, what he was trying to accomplish, and kind of with the open there for all things NXT and trying to get everyone really amped. But here he is. Don't think you guys could hear Triple H, but what's happening here is Triple H came out and he basically said that he wanted the entire crowd to be incredibly quiet. He said it was something that, you know, people in the back said, you know, was not a good idea. But here he goes. I'll let you listen on to Triple H here. So we crack open one and get the weekend started early. It's the SummerSlam weekend. We got the Steigl Rattler, and let's have some fun, man. Triple H looking like, at this point, he is just the wrestling god to, I guess, the wrestling fans around the world. He curated a whole brand here. And you'll see throughout the entire night kind of the who's who. Look at this crowd is so amped. This was a hot ticket. This was sold out. And people were... Very cool. Look at that. Look at the sold-out Barclays Center. Look at everybody ready for NXT. Everyone's super stoked for it. And one of the things that happened was Triple H had came out a couple minutes prior to the show, and he tried to get the entire crowd to calm down. And he said a lot of people were in the back, and they were basically saying, hey, you know, don't do it. The crowd's not going to allow you to be quiet. The crowd's not going to shut up, and they're so excited. It's going to ruin it. It's not going to look cool as that opening there. But he kind of begged the crowd to allow him to do it. And to the crowd's credit, as amped as they were, they all did quiet down and let Triple H create a really cool opening there. Speaking of a cool opening, let's take a look here. This here, a lot of people forget that NXT, you know, kind of, I always feel like the NXT building fathers, so to speak. But you had, you know, you had Neville, obviously. You had Sami Zayn. You had Bo Dallas to a certain degree, but he was right before kind of the boom of NXT. And you had Tyler Breeze. And Tyler Breeze, one of the really cool acts of the time. If you remember, this was not too far after the Let Me Take a Selfie video came out that Tyler Breeze was actually in. And here he is showing up to SummerSlam, carrying a selfie stick around with this really cool opening. And it's a shame to see kind of where Tyler Breeze is at now. I really feel like, you know, they have so much with Tyler Breeze. They can really do so much and kind of bring him back through the ranks. And they want to put him back in NXT. I feel like if he shows up and does this type of entrance at TakeOver on Saturday, people are going to be super into it. Look how awesome he is here. And you have all the different models there with him dressed as different New York City. You have the Statue of Liberty, you have the taxi, you have one of the skyscraper videos, women there. Pretty cool. Cheers, by the way. And one of the big things about this show was not only were you getting, you know, the Bayley versus Sasha Banks. And then remember, this is right after the women's out. You know, right now, and such a big deal, obviously, and women are having their own pay-per-view, WWE Evolution, which I'll be at. That'll be a lot of fun. A little bit later on this year, I believe it's October 28th at Nassau Coliseum. I'll be there for that. That's going to be awesome. And they had, obviously, the first ever Women's Royal Rumble. But before all that, this is right after the Women's Revolution, I guess it was, started. And a lot of, you had Charlotte come up, you had Becky come up, and you had Paige, not Paige, you had Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha Banks come up. And if you remember, Sasha Banks was kind of paired with, Naomi and Tamina. They were Team Bad. You had Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch teaming with Paige. They were Team PCB. I think they had some pretty obscure kind of, they had a name for their group at the time that wasn't very good. Anybody can let me know in the chat there, by the way, of what the original name was for Team PCB with Paige, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch. But they kind of did their own thing. And then you also had the Bellas with Alicia Fox, and they were Team Bella. And the one original Four Horsewoman, as Jushin Thunder Liger makes his entrance and comes out with the classic song. By the way, Greg Hamilton is doing the announcing for NXT. And if the voice sounds familiar, he is the current voice of SmackDown and does the iconic Shinsuke entrance for Shinsuke Nakamura. So very, very cool. But Liger, one of the big things was, remember, NXT, I think, was, even though they were under the impression that like NXT was getting big, I still think they felt that they needed something to kind of bring in some of those casuals, bring in some of the wrestling fans that might be in for SummerSlam and may not really know what NXT is. So they bring in Jushin Thunder Liger. And one of the things that was really cool about Liger at the time was that he was actually under contract to New Japan Pro Wrestling. So it was a really big deal that WWE had a deal in place with New Japan to have somebody that was under contract with them show up at TakeOver and work NXT. And the belief after this is that Liger was actually going to be signed to NXT. And at the time, NXT, you know, they had people who were there, you know, for developmental, to develop, to eventually move up to the main roster and to be on Raw and SmackDown. And as we'll go up and down this show, I mean, there's very few, if anyone, on this entire show that isn't right now on the main roster, isn't, you know, competing each and every week on either Raw or SmackDown Live. But they did have, they had, you know, while they did have those guys, they also had a couple of different people that were signed that were kind of like veterans specifically to work NXT on almost like part-time deals. So they would work NXT, and at the same time, they would also do their own thing. They'd be able to work independent. So one of those guys was Rhino. Rhino ended up teaming with Baron Corbin. And you'll see here they're going to make the announcement soon for the Dusty Classic, the original Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Invitational Classic. And Rhino was brought in for that. And Rhino was another guy who was like, oh, crap, Rhino's down there. Let's maybe check out NXT. I mean, we know Rhino. He's a name we've seen. He's been in ECW. He's been the TNA World Champ. So why not check out what Rhino has going on? And in doing so, they also had here Liger. And Liger was, you know, kind of doing some stuff part-time down in NXT, was obviously able to still work New Japan. And the belief was that after this, he'd be in NXT for quite some time. And if you go back and watch some of those early NXT episodes, it's kind of a who's who of people who show up. Tyson Kidd kind of reinvented himself with that whole fact stuff when he was in NXT, main evented a show, and really kind of reinvented his career. Natty Neidhart was on an original NXT TakeOver special against Charlotte Flair, kind of Charlotte's coming out party. So you had guys from either the main roster or from elsewhere making kind of their presence felt. And another one of those guys was Samoa Joe. That's right, Samoa Joe, who's actually in the main event, one of the main events, and I'd say arguably the most anticipated match of the weekend, going up against AJ Styles for the NXT World Championship. not only is he, now he's on the main roster, but one of the thoughts at the time was that he was actually just going to be signed specifically to work NXT, and he'd work NXT and still be able to go out and do independence. And that's kind of where we are right now with the Samoa Joe run. He has this match here coming up on this show with Baron Corbin. And by the way, you'll see here on the show that this is, I believe, the first and maybe even the only NXT Takeover special to have 6 matches. I could be wrong on that, but I do recall this being the first NXT Takeover special to have 6 matches, if memory serves correct. Liger is posing with the selfie stick there. And selfies are big now, but back then, this was kind of the boom, again, of selfies. Chainsmokers had that great song, Let Me Take a Selfie. And they encouraged everyone to take selfies so they could be a part of their music video. And there was a version, I know, where Tyler Breeze kind of became there. And NXT was really cool. Not only was NXT cool, but at the time, too, this was the first year where they were in Brooklyn. And it wasn't only here for specific matches, but you could probably go back and find some of this stuff on the network. I know there was an NXT special panel discussion where you can go there before the show and watch the panel discussion, watch the guys in NXT talk about NXT. And there was just a variety of different events in and around the Brooklyn area, which still happens today. I know that WWE stars, like I said earlier, were out at Yankee Stadium. They were at a children's hospital earlier, and it just kind of it integrates the entire community, and it's super cool because it's kind of like a version of WrestleMania that is here, and not only is it here, but it's something that really kind of gets people excited for SummerSlam, as they should. SummerSlam should be presented as something that is a big deal, and it's cool that they do that. And they started here. This was the first time that a takeover was, not only was it in the Barclays Center or a building the size of the Barclays Center, but it was also a deal where they had a variety of they started the idea of having the Big Four world title, the Big Four vacation packages, where you could show up, you could watch, you can come down, you can go to your big show, but not only that, you can get a video package to go to NXT. You can then go to your big show and then go to Raw and eventually go over to SmackDown as well. So it was pretty cool. And Liger here is, they're mentioning how he's in WWE ring for the first time. And Liger, not only, what Liger here is being brought in as a big deal, as he is, but at the same time, he was kind of probably number 2 or 3 on the list of priorities for the people that were in town for the show. You had people who were, let's see here. You can hear, by the way, the ring announcers there. Corey Graves is doing commentary for NXT. Not only are the wrestlers now on the main roster, but Corey Graves is like Mr. WWE. He's on every single WWE show doing commentary. By the way, this is right when the New Day was at their peak of popularity. So you hear a lot of different, you hear the crowd doing the, and they'd add in their own chants throughout. It was pretty cool. And we are, you could hear the show very well, but unfortunately we're kind of going to have to take a pause for the cause here as we get things going here. But yeah, just under Liger, and Tyler Breeze was now at a point where he was really the type of guy that people were really into, and that, was trusted to have good matches with basically everybody, and did that, and did a really good job with that. And Liger going up now. And Tyler Breeze he was not only was he the type of guy that was doing these and having these great matches with everybody, but was also doing so, and he was kind of like, I don't know if they have a guy right now who you could consider, you know, a guy on the NXT roster who they can just kind of trust to go in there and have good matches with everyone. It was Breeze for a while. A lot of times Breeze would have these great matches and kind of be like right under that upper echelon. They did that with Andrade, and thankfully they decided that Andrade deserved more, and I think he did deserve more. And now has a match on SummerSlam. Is a big part of SmackDown. Had a 5-star match earlier this year with Johnny Gargano, and that's kind of where they were at with Tyler Breeze here. He was having great matches all the time, and he was somebody that the crowd could really relate to, and to do all that. Oh. And Liger, you know, even though he's a guy who was a major legend in Japan and WCW, this really is his first match here in NXT. And the crowd's super into Liger, too. This kind of magnified and would eventually lead to what I consider to be the peak. I feel like right here is the start of the original NXT brand and kind of the peak of where everyone's at. Because not only did you have the Women's Revolution and all those women, because remember, Paige, well, not Paige, Paige is already up there, but you had Charlotte, Becky, Sasha. Those guys were already having matches on the actual, and Liger with the win, which I did think was pretty surprising at the time. Because Tyler Breeze he's having, you know, he's your guy who you figure you're going to need to build around. And what's kind of cool about Corey Graves here, by the way, is he's a huge fan of wrestling. So you'd hear Corey Graves. I mean, I believe it was Tom Phillips. When Tom Phillips had basically, I believe he was on Sam Roberts' wrestling podcast, and he said something like, when Shinsuke Nakamura made his debut, Corey Graves was losing his mind. He was super excited. He was really pumped up about everything. And one of the things, and even though he wasn't a huge fan, he remembers Corey Graves grabbing onto his arm and cutting off all this circulation because of how excited he was about everything. There we go. So that kind of got everything going there. A great way to kind of kick off the card. Also because of the fact that they get the guy going on the show like Liger, but at the same time, they also allowed people to now focus now. Now it's all about NXT. You got your guy on there who was, you know, your outsider. And here now you have something where everyone else is basically trying to, you know, people are into Liger, but now it's time just to focus on the guys who are at NXT. So I thought this was a great opening match. And what we're about to see coming up here, actually, I guess Wesley Blake would be the one guy on the show here, and I guess Simon Gotch, but Simon Gotch did have a run. What we're about to see next is the absolute peak so far in the careers of the Vaudevillains. There's the Wolfpack who's in the crowd there. Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, X-Pac. This is still during the time where, you know, they'd have like the legends, so to speak, or the current stars in the crowd watching the show, looking like they were having a great time. And really with the way they do these, and not to kind of give you guys a peek behind the curtain, they bring out these legends, they bring out these current stars in between matches and in between everything going on, so that so like during the middle of that match, here come the Wolfpack. They'd sit down, they'd be in a match, you get the Wolfpack on camera, and at the same time, you would then go right back to, they'd get the camera, they'd wave to the camera, and then boom, they were done by the time the next match came around. You'll see here Dusty Rhodes is a big time focus on the show. He's somebody that they're really into. And oh, by the way, this promo here is for Nia Jax, who is soon making her debut in NXT, not even on the main roster, but in NXT. You can kind of see Nia Jax there, and Nia Jax was somebody who had a bit of she had a lot of steam behind her because of the fact that of who her family is. People knew that she was related to The Rock, and so there was excitement that was kind of brewing on her debut and her coming into the show. But here we go. Here's the Vaudevillains, and listen to this pop as they come down here. And really throughout this entire match, I remember this being one of the real bright spots of the entire this is always something I really remember, is this match between the Vaudevillains going against Team Bam, Blake and Murphy, or Blake, Alexa, and Murphy. And yes, Alexa is Alexa Bliss. This is prior to her role as a wrestler. And this is Aiden English, who's now doing the Rusev Day stuff. And the crowd is so into him here. A really cool idea. I mean, they were kind of like the vaudevillain type wrestlers from the yesteryear, so to speak, with the black and white coming out, doing their thing, and the entire. I like that they turned the entire crowd black and white. I personally would have enjoyed if they kept it black and white for the entire time, but I do realize that you can't really do that. It would be pretty tough to kind of see and to watch the show and enjoy it with. The entire screen in black and white. But I thoroughly enjoyed that, and it kind of it was something different. And also something I thoroughly enjoyed was Blake and Murphy. I can't even front. Being a big fan of dubstep, I am one of the few people that you'll probably be able to find that really kind of moved forward and was really into and interested in Blake and Murphy's entrance theme. And I thought Blake and Murphy were super underrated. Look at this. I freaking... It feels like this is almost like... And I don't know if this is what they were going for, but this feels like the entire thing was like... Kind of like how MTV2 used to do like a bands that were kind of up and coming that would do the Campus Invasion tour. And you'd have all these bands like a Motion City Soundtrack. I remember going on campus to see Motion City Soundtrack, Hello Goodbye, those types of bands. And it felt like a really type of like cutting edge type of cool act. And that's how NXT feels. Everything is so crisp. Everything is different, and it kind of gave WWE the opportunity to do things a little different. Look at Alexa here. She looks like maybe 18 years old. But Blake and Murphy, not sure if Murphy and Alexa are still together, but at the time were dating, and even having a couple episodes of Total Divas where they have their own, they have their own season where they're kind of prominently featured, and that people are, you're able to kind of see what's going on there with them. As far as Wesley Blake goes, I believe he's still under contract. Murphy obviously now in 205 Live, having really good matches there. I believe Wesley Blake is still under contract. He ended up getting, I believe, married, or certainly had a child, and is still at least in a relationship with the winner of Tough Enough, the original winner of the last Tough Enough, the season that Patrick Clark was on, Velveteen Dream, and the female winner, Sarah Lee, and Hardbody Blake there ended up together. Kind of cool. Simon Gotch, by the way, is now Simon Grimm on the Indies, particularly in MLW, and doing really well for himself. Had some not-so-flattering things to say on an episode of Why It Ended with Matt Kuhn and Robbie E. That's a really, go out of your way to listen to that podcast. That's a fun podcast, especially the episode with Simon Grimm. And oh, by the way, here, let's listen as let's see here if you guys can remember this period of time when Blue Pants was super popular. And listen to that pop from Blue Pants. The reason I'm letting you listen to her entrance music. Fun fact: Leva Bates, who is Blue Pants, her entrance music, was kind of like that cheapy entrance music that was almost like somebody doing the, coming down the aisle from wherever. But they had the whole deal where she came, did like the Price is Right type music, and you hear the guy da 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 da. That is actually Big Cass. It's a shame in a way. You see all these people who, you know, this is kind of where they're all getting their start. And at the same time, you do see that some guys like Big Cass was such a big part of NXT for so long, and it looked like he had a bright future in WWE, whether you liked him or not. And I wasn't a huge fan of his in-ring work, but it's a shame to see that it kind of fizzled out for him, and now he's no longer even with the company. Obviously, there are some rumors as to why he's not, and if those are all true and the backstage stuff is all true, which I won't even get into, then he deserves to be no longer with WWE. But, again, neither here nor there. A really fun act about villains, and this is, you just think of some of the teams that I named there. Hype Bros, American Alpha I talked about earlier. People super into blue pants, like crazy into blue pants. You know, your Vaudevillains, your Enzo and Cass, American Alpha. American Alpha, by the way, on this show is right before they really kind of became popular and got that push in the beginning of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Invitational Tournament. And they were able to, so this is prior to that, and all these teams just down the line, Hype Bros, American Alpha, Vaudevillains, all would eventually get their start and their you know, kind of a spot on the main roster. But in doing so, kind of all fizzled out. I mean, the Revival's there, and they're having a tag title match on the pre-show at this year's SummerSlam. And with them, I think they kind of get a little bit of a pass. But the problem was, a lot of these teams were coming up during the period of time when New Day is really on the verge of getting ready to start their unprecedented tag title run. They actually win the titles, I believe, at SummerSlam the next day. And in doing so, they eventually break the record of demolition. But in doing so, also, you had a whole bunch of teams that would come up from NXT and lose to the New Day and then immediately fall into the crux. And unfortunately, the list of tag teams, I mean, even teams today like Sanity and AOP, those guys aren't on SummerSlam. Those guys are losing matches on TV. And even dating back way before that, Lucha Dragons didn't really work out. Ascension. So it's a shame that the tag teams in NXT right now seem almost a little bit cursed. Who would have thunk that, you know, the biggest star, arguably, and with the biggest match this weekend on this entire show, in terms of the woman, is Alexa Bliss, and she wasn't even factored really into the Women's Revolution. She kind of came out, Aiden English, so solid in the ring. Don't sleep on Aiden English in the ring. The guy can straight up go. All intents and purposes, I've heard he's just such a good dude, and it's cool to see now he's getting a spot with the Rusev Day stuff, and they've been able to do some things with him. But yeah, so now, in kind of hearkening back to the Women's Revolution, Alexa Bliss wasn't even factored into the Women's Revolution. She was just kind of drafted up and one of the call-ups during the actual brand extension, and just kind of took off from there. And we had mentioned earlier that Charlotte, Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks had all came up with the Women's Revolution. But Bayley was kind of left behind. They didn't really have any of the other women established yet, you know, in the women's division in NXT, other than Bayley. So what you had was you had Bayley show up, and you had Bayley do her thing, and you had the crowd. You know, Bayley kind of was the kind of held the way and held down the women's division for the next year before finally getting her call up the day after SummerSlam the next year in 2016. But I thought that you know, it was good for Bayley to kind of get that spot, and at the same time, though, it did kind of feel like, well, damn, what about Bayley? And if you watch, they were doing the show Breaking Ground, which really kind of gets into some of where the NXT guys were at. A lot of the behind-the-scenes stuff shows a lot of them coming up. You get to kind of watch Apollo Crews come up. You get to kind of watch, you know, you get to kind of watch all the different guys kind of cut their own weight and find their own way throughout NXT, and that's a really fun show. You can go back and watch that, and you get to also kind of get to know the personalities as everything's going on, and that's during the period where Bayley is still down there in NXT helping out the women and moving them all along. I'm going to let you guys know that tomorrow, even though we don't have anything announced for tomorrow, if you guys are subscribed to this YouTube channel, I will have a very cool little extra video. That's the plan at least, is to have a cool little extra video up here on the YouTube channel for you guys, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that. So if you get a chance, check it out. It's going to be cool, and hit subscribe. Turn those notifications on, because I do think you guys are going to kick out of the video that I have planned for you guys. I'm excited this weekend. This weekend is not only am I returning to NXT Takeover. I was at the first two. I was at this one, Takeover Brooklyn, and Takeover Brooklyn 2. And if you go ahead and you look over at the if you look at us over on Twitter at WatchWrestlePod, you can see a little profile picture there of my wife and I outside of the Barclays Center. I had the KO shirt, she had the Finn Balor shirt, and we were ready to go for there. But we went to the show with a couple of our friends and had a really good time with that. And that was something that was cool. And it was actually the next night I did not go to SummerSlam. There was something going on. So this year is the first time that I've had tickets to SummerSlam, prior to where we're at this year with the show. So prior to SummerSlam actually happening, I have tickets for the first time. And that's pretty crazy considering this is the fourth and perhaps the last time that SummerSlam will be at the Barclays Center during this run. I don't anticipate it's the last time it'll ever be at the Barclays Center. The relationship is super strong between WWE and Barclays. But it does feel like maybe they'll go somewhere else with SummerSlam next year, with WrestleMania and all the surrounding events being in Brooklyn for the Barclays Center. So who knows? It'll be fun to see kind of where they go from there. But I can tell you, in working in Brooklyn, and going to different job fairs, as I always say, HR is the shoot gig whirler. And I go to different job fairs and different universities all around, and the Barclays Center is usually there as well, trying to hire interns and different things like that. And they have a legitimate backing that says, Barclays Center, home of WWE SummerSlam, and then in small little logos, the Nets and the Islanders. So the two teams that are, that call the Barclays Center home are de-emphasized in relation to SummerSlam. And even yesterday I was at the Brooklyn Bridge to Employment job fair over in Industry City, and the guy who was there in Industry City was talking about the importance of WWE being in town and the business it does for Brooklyn, and it's cool to check out. It's cool to see that they're doing well with kind of the expansion there, so to speak. WWE is major business, especially when they come with some of these bigger types of events. Oh, Simon Gotch's underrated as well in the ring. Last year I did miss NXT Takeover. That will not be happening this year. I will be there live for that show. I'm excited for it. Gotch gets up, and let's listen to the end of this match here, because it is a really fun little, if this is the end, I'm not sure it is. One of the things that's funny, you'll notice Drake Wirtz, the referee here, was a major, big wrestling star in CZW, and there was something before this, in the pre-show, the women's match between, I mentioned the four-way between Dana Brooke, Emma, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch, as they were kind of finishing up their duty in NXT. Yeah, there's Simon Gotch playing the big-time, the old strongman. Listen to the crowd here. Senton. Ooh, so much heat. And this is for the Vaudevillains against Blake and Murphy. No disrespect to any of those teams, but this is cool, man. This is it's fun to see. Blue Pants is so unbelievably over. It's a real shame it didn't work out for her. I know there was some, again, kind of that rumors and some backstage stuff that was going on with her. having a bit of heat, and that's a shame because she had. I like Leva Bates a lot. I think she could offer a lot, and people were really into her character. Look how much people are into every single thing that she does. Wow, that's cool. There you go. Whirly Dervish. The eruption and pop of the century for the Vaudevillains winning the tag titles. I'm a huge fan of the Vaudevillains, so it's no disrespect to them, but that is freaking awesome, Zach. I mean, this should show you here just how over every single member of the NXT roster was. The crowd is, you're getting a legit standing ovation from folks. Like, people are super into them. And that is just a testament to how over everyone in NXT was. They were getting back there, I think, with NXT. A lot of the guys, if you look at this card on Saturday, NXT Takeover Brooklyn 4 is freaking stacked from pillar to post. And this really kind of got to show that, like, if you were in NXT in 2015, you were cool. Vaudevillains, huge response, huge pop for them winning, and very, very cool. So let's kind of get into that, wanted to stop and take a pause here so you guys can hear the end of that and just kind of get a sense for the pop there. But one of the things that I thought is cool, and one of the things that I personally liked about the show was that one of the things I remember, rather, one of the big kind of storylines about everything was that you had you had a deal where you basically were going to be able to. One of the big things was that NXT was they had the women's match. I kind of mentioned it earlier. It was Charlotte, Becky Lynch, Dana Brooke, and Emma went on to actually win that match, even though at the time Emma was like back in NXT and she was like the least pushed of that four. Look, like Dana Brooke was kind of the one that was coming up. Charlotte and Becky Lynch were already on the main roster, and Emma won the match. And I remember being like, oh shit, Emma won the match. It looks like maybe they're getting behind Emma, kind of built her up for Bayley since she's down in NXT. But what actually happened was it was a complete and utter snafu. If you go and you watch that match, which again is on the NXT episode TV show that's right after this NXT Brooklyn show, and really what it is it's just they did a TV taping. They always do a TV taping right before NXT Takeover Brooklyn, and they ended up look at Coney Island there, nice little shot of Coney Island, and they did a deal where Emma won the match, but it was a mistake. And what ended up happening, she ended up legitimately knocking Becky Lynch a little loopy, and so Drake Wirtz goes down. He goes the 1, 2, and the 3. And it was kind of like, what the hell, Emma won? And in doing so, I remember there was like some rumors there. By the way, Sleeping with Sirens, good stuff. A little bit of the birth of the NXT Loud type music where they kind of use a band to kind of promote up and have a good time with it. So very, very cool. But if you go back, and there was rumors at the time, it was in the Observer, that Drake Wirtz was super nervous that there was heat on him for counting the 1, 2, 3, but there wasn't any at all. I mean, remember these guys. Check it out. Neville's showing up to watch the show, along with Finn Balor. And I don't know if I tried to do a little Irish brogue accent there. It's probably terrible if I did. I apologize for that. But Neville there with Finn Balor, and both of them looking pretty cool. And Cesaro's showing up. This one, Cesaro was a babyface, and he was actually facing off against Kevin Owens at SummerSlam, so it made sense for Cesaro to be here. That was one of the really big matches there. As you see, Rick Rubin in the crowd there. Corey Graves, big music fan, so he's excited to see Rick Rubin. But it kind of made sense to have Cesaro there, and they were kind of building it up as like, hey, is he there kind of scouting his competition? Because Kevin Owens, despite the fact that he's going for the NXT Championship, is going to be taking on, is going to be on actual SummerSlam because he was already on the main roster in a match against Cesaro that a lot of people, I think, were saying was kind of the match that people were into kind of going into that year's SummerSlam. Ty Dillinger, this is right when Ty was starting to do the Perfect 10 gimmick. but was really used as the guy to get everyone over that was just entering into NXT. And this is no exception here. You're going to see him face off against Apollo Crews. This is Apollo Crews' debut. I do remember, by the way, that all of us got up to use the restroom during this match just because I was a little excited over, well, I don't think it was just to maybe refill on the drinks and use the restroom, do what you had to do. And I remember somebody at the end of our row refusing to allow us to go out and use the restroom because we were leaving during this match. And he was saying, you know, how about you support the up-and-comers? And he was trying to start a boo on us, and very weird. But Apollo Crews, this is a debut match here. This very well might be the first time I'm seeing this match because I'm not sure if this is his debut match or his first ever NXT Takeover match, but people were into him. He was one of the early additions of somebody who was shown in the crowd at one of the takeovers, how they do now, where you have like War Machine sitting in the crowd, they wave, everyone goes, oh crap, War Machine's in NXT. EC3 was there once too. They did that. Apollo Crews was one of the first group where they showed like that draft class of people that they brought into NXT, and he waved to the crowd. Crowd erupted, went nuts for him because people were really into him from his run as Uhaa Nation in New Japan, and apparently, you know, has had some really great matches as Uhaa Nation. I remember being really excited to see him. But when you're at a show with your wife, she wants to get up to use the restroom or go get a drink, you kind of got to sacrifice some things, and unfortunately this match fell by the wayside from a live perspective, but it'll be good to kind of watch it here. I remember it being a complete showcase, you know, for Apollo Crews. And Apollo Crews also at the time was on Sam Roberts' podcast. Sam Roberts, by the way, he was always kind of like somebody who was hanging around. Last week we mentioned him and how we kind of saw him in the lobby of going into SummerSlam 2013. You guys are into something, old SummerSlams to get you kind of amped up for everything. Go back and check out last week's Watchalong Wrestling podcast where we watched SummerSlam 2013, went through that entire show, and talked about how we saw Sam Roberts kind of in the lobby there. In 2015 is where he really starts to take off. He has the first, I believe, this first Summer Sam, and I remember ditching work to go down and watch the live podcast with Kevin Owens and Paul Heyman. And one of the things that was really cool about it was they had, you know, they had the entire Sam Roberts live radio show taking place from Caroline's on Broadway, which is, I believe, where Sam does his shows now. I know there's definitely some shows that are taking place at Caroline's, in particular the DZ and Friends Dolph Ziggler show. But Sam had the show. I went to the show doing stuff for the dailyspotlight.com, which is currently the website that is kind of under reconstruction. We're going to launch that again soon. But I was able to do it. Look at the Apollo Crews getting the crowd amped up just to do the 10s and super crisp in the ring. Man, Apollo really hasn't had that blown away match in WWE or NXT, I feel like. But he can go, and this night people were really into it. But yeah, so Sam Roberts had a podcast that I attended with both Kevin Owens was on the show as well as Paul Heyman, and the person who was his host of that Sam Roberts show was Catherine Kelly, who now works for WWE and who does a good job in kind of doing that WWE Now stuff and a lot of the different hype packages that they currently do for the pay-per-view, so to speak. I think they're doing a whole bunch of live stuff kicking off tomorrow, getting you ready for the entire weekend, filled with you know, hype packages, interviews, whatnot, on the road to 2018 SummerSlam. Ty Dillinger, by the way, if you don't know the story of him, he was somebody who was around way early in the WWE CW. Had a little run there, and then it just didn't really work out. He was Gavin Spears, and unfortunately, it didn't work out, but he stuck around in WWE developmental for a number of years, and finally, years and years later, got another chance with NXT and eventually got called up to the main roster. And unfortunately, it hasn't gone so great for him on the main roster, but at least he had that opportunity and got a couple of really great moments. Never forget, I think, moment of Royal Rumble 2017 was Ty Dillinger showing up, and at number 10, the entire San Antonio Alamo Dome, really getting into him, and we're excited for that. So that was fun. That was really, really cool. And by the way, at some point later on, and I don't know if it's after this match, they're going to show some legends in the crowd, and pay very close attention to when they show those legends in the crowd. I'll obviously mention it again. Yeah, it's a real shame. It's a shame that Apollo really hasn't caught on, because I do think that if given kind of maybe the right mouthpiece, he's kind of a soft-spoken type guy, but I feel like he definitely has something. And I don't know what it is, but it hasn't fully worked. I mean, look at this guy. I mean, he's a freaking beast, but it hasn't really caught on at all in WWE. At least not yet. Hopefully it will. I sure hope so. Oh. I believe this is, no. Anybody who can keep up with that little effort there, kipping up off the back of his neck, and I believe this would be your ball game, Michael. And that's the end of that. For a guy that size to hit a backflip like that, too, just very little, making it look easy. Apollo Crews. Don't sleep on him. He was, you know, he could still do his thing, and maybe have a chance at some point to get a pronounced singles run, and to be able to do that, you know, in WWE. And that was the thing, where it was like sooner or later, it was like all these new guys were having these showcases against Ty Dillinger, and it was like, damn, all these new guys are really looking freaking good. And then you realized it's because he was making all of them look really good. And so, you know, it was good that he was able to get over. And I don't think all is lost with Ty Dillinger. I do think, you know, he's usually having matches on SmackDown. So who knows? Maybe he'll get another opportunity at some point. Well, I like Apollo Crews. I think he's good in the ring. I think he just has to find something. The reason I said the mouthpiece, and he kind of has it with Titus, but unfortunately they're kind of seen as kind of like a comedy type act. But I mean, the guy's good. The crowd was into him, and this was the formula for a while. Takeover, you'd have like the debut type that, you know. Here we go, William Regal. Crowd super amped to him. Wait a second. So the reason why they got things started. Oh, look at that. So you have Rich Brennan, who does still do commentary, unfortunately not for WWE, but I thought he was really, really good. You have Rich Brennan, you have Byron Saxton, and you have Corey Graves. Right, Corey Graves was like Mr. Cool at the time. You know, he was doing, you know, this is like right before he started. This is during the time where he also has a couple of different shows on the network, where he'd go to different like local venues and show those local venues off. And he would also do a lot of different stuff with different music awards, different things to that extent. And by the way, what is kind of cool to see here, and you can kind of pay attention to it throughout. While they do bring out the legends specifically to wave and then bring them back to the back after they do their wave, Rick Rubin is literally right behind Corey Graves, and he's just freaking enjoying the hell out of the show. So that's really cool to see. The finalists of Tough Enough, there they are. So that's ZZ, Josh, love ZZ, the 18-year-old. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him because he was lazy as shit. Big Josh, who really picked up momentum in the middle of the show. Josh Brell, I think his name is. And I think that Burdell, yes. And he was a football player. Ended up winning. And the two women there, Sarah Lee and Mandy Rose. And unfortunately, Sarah Lee, well, I like Sarah Lee. She was all right. But Sarah Lee ended up winning that show. But unfortunately for her, really was not a part of it moving forward. So let's listen to Baron Corbin here. This is kind of when Baron's first coming up into his own. So at the time, basically, I'll kind of get into this here. So basically, at the time, Bull Dempsey, Bull James, he's still in the Independents, local guy right here from New York. And he was able to have a profile match on the pre-show, which was cool for him because of the fact that, like, he was somebody who did a deal, and he ended up getting signed to NXT, and they were doing a deal where he was the unstoppable monster. And he would get over for the fact that he'd come in the ring and just destroy dudes right and left. And the crowd would count him down. It would be like they'd count, and it would last like 10 seconds, and the match would be over. The crowd would count along, literally count the entire match. 1, 2, 3, until the match ended. Getting over the fact that he was just destroying dudes. Then what ended up happening was Baron Corbin showed up. Baron Corbin was almost doing the exact same thing as Bull James, Bull Dempsey. And kind of got Bull Dempsey's gimmick. And that was the end of Bull Dempsey. And they did a deal where Bull Dempsey was going to be doing kind of like a blow-away diet type deal. And he was basically going to go away and an attempt to lose weight. And it would eventually, and he talked about this on the podcast with someone, he was eventually going to come back with the idea being that it was going to be revealed like, hey, let's look at this guy. He's worked out. He's trying to do better. He's trying to eat healthier. Let's look at how he looks like today. And he ended up showing up. And when he did, he would eventually look the same. Problem is that when they started the gimmick, they kind of gave up on it, and that was the end of Bull James and Bull Dempsey in NXT. From all I've heard, though, a really good guy, and it's a shame it didn't work out for him. But yeah, look at this. Constable Baron Corbin, early carnation here, getting an opportunity to go against Samoa Joe. And this is when Samoa Joe was just getting a start in NXT. And was, you know, a babyface. So he actually competes in the Dusty Classic with Finn Balor and ends up winning it. And Corbin ends up in there as well with Rhino. Actually, a really underrated, the finals of that Dusty Classic, is that takeover where that takes place is a super underrated show where you have Baron Corbin and Rhino against American Alpha, the coming out party for American Alpha. And I believe it was the Revival against Finn Balor and Samoa Joe. Pretty sure that was what it was. And kind of their coming out party, too. Both teams lost, but still. So this is early Baron Corbin here. He's got his hair. Matter of fact, he has quite a bit of hair there. I mean, he, you know, it was a little receding, but it wasn't to the point of, like, where it eventually, you know, got to. I think he looks much better bald. Corbin has always had great music. Corbin's always had a great look. Corbin's always had a really, he looks like the type of dude that you're like, damn, you don't want to screw up with this guy. He looks badass. He looks super cool. Unfortunately, though, he never really gets it done in the ring. So, you know, no offense to him, but I don't think I've ever seen too many Baron Corbin matches. And look at this is the crowd here, super amped for Samoa Joe. Who, think about that, Samoa Joe here. Remember, as I said earlier, he was at this point. He was and he's such a badass. I mean, Samoa Joe, dude, this guy is cool personified. Right now, he comes across as a super cool badass heel that could just kick your ass. Here, he's like the super cool baby face who can kick your ass, and the crowd just freaking loving it. And I've always loved Samoa Joe because when I first saw him in an indie show back in 2002, he screwed up a move, and this was like during New York Indies. You know, anyone screwed up a move, heaven forbid that anyone was human, everyone would jump up. You fucked up. You fucked up. You fucked up. And when they did this for Samoa Joe, he stopped there, looked around the crowd, screaming, "You fucked up!" And he said, "Well, yeah, I fucked up. What do you want from me? That happens." I was just thought that was cool. And that's, you know, one word to describe Samoa Joe, cool. I will say Corbin looks a lot less. I don't know, he looks a lot more like he does. He looks like a badass dude here. You go back and you watch some of the real early episodes of NXT. It's actually kind of funny. When Corbin first gets started, he's got like just a buzz cut, and it looks so interesting. Now it probably doesn't look, you know, as interesting because he's now bald, but back then they kind of did a deal there. Shout out to the Red Cupid One there, giving us a little retweet on Twitter, helping to, you know, help to expand this deal. And shout out to everybody who follows us on Twitter there. I'm blown away by the support. I can't thank you guys enough for all the love on the Twitter and the fact that, you know, we've only been doing this here a couple of months and we've got over 700 followers or so is it's pretty cool. So thank you guys for the love and support on that. And also take this time to remind everybody that we'll be back on the air this Saturday morning, this Sunday morning, Breakfast with Tots. Can I get any more egotistical? No. Breakfast with Tots. We're going to be on the air. We're going to be eating pancakes or something. We're going to be having breakfast, and we're going to be previewing the big shows of the weekend, starting Saturday with NXT Takeover Brooklyn 4, and on Sunday with SummerSlam and going through all 13 matches and all the fun stuff going on, and it's going to be a lot of fun there. So if you're in town for that, if you're in town for SummerSlam, make sure you check us out and keep it locked into Twitter at WatchWrestlePod, at Tommy on the Spot. But it'll be all over Twitter, kind of sharing some videos and you know, broadcasting live at different places. I can't even tell you guys where I'm necessarily going to be, but if something looks cool, we'll broadcast live, man. It'll be fun. So yeah, Saturday morning and Sunday morning, we will be on the air live, Breakfast with Tots. We're going to preview both big shows. And on top of that, you know, keep it locked in. We're going to be all over the place. And if maybe you are thinking that you need a break from wrestling, maybe you want to tune in to some Disney chatter, follow me over at the @Disney101 pod. And tomorrow night we'll be broadcasting live. And if you're into Epcot, and you're a fan of Epcot as much as I am, we're going to be doing a little Epcot primer on the Food and Wine Festival and be able to do that. Much as I like Baron Corbin, I mean, again, as I said earlier, this guy, if he can go in the ring, would be the total and complete package. This guy would just be all sorts of awesome. Fortunately, when he gets in the ring, and you know, as they've always said, as Bruce Pritchard and Conrad Thompson always says, the bell had to ring. Unfortunately, the bell had to ring. And that's kind of the case with Baron. We'll say that Joe's doing what he can here. Crazy to think that Baron Corbin, though, wrestled John Cena in the first match of last year's SummerSlam. Like, feels like that didn't happen. Like, you asked me anything about that match, I couldn't tell you a damn diddly thing. And Corbin lost something fierce, and I feel like never really recovered. The SmackDown before that SummerSlam, he lost the Money in the Bank briefcase and never fully recovered. But, hey, he's got a match with Finn Balor and seems to have a prominent position on Raw, so who knows? Oh. One of the things about NXT that I think also is cool is the fact that it is on the network, and it was something, in my opinion, that really kind of led to the expansion of the entire network and really led to kind of some of the cooler pieces of the network, and one of the things that made the network something cool and something you want to kind of watch and see there. Corbin with a heel hook. I mean, I think it was Brian Alvarez over at F4W Online earlier this week on Wrestling Observer Radio, I think it was, said something to the extent that Corbin had a 4-minute match on Raw this past week and did 2 chinlock spots. Come on. You're killing me, Baron Corbin. You're absolutely killing me. Thankfully, though, we are just a couple of moments away. And once this ends here, everything picks up because we get Bayley and Sasha Banks, and then we get Finn Balor and Samoa Joe. I mean, Finn Balor and Samoa Joe. Finn Balor and Kevin Owens. The thing about Samoa Joe, I mean, talking about a story of talent ruling out. This guy, starts off with just getting that, as we said earlier, just that contract to be in NXT. No thought of him ever going to WWE. He goes and he does that, and then does such a good job in kind of impressing people that he gets the deal with NXT, ends up main eventing more takeovers than anyone at the time. I think he has like 4 or 5 different main events, and is now in a prominent position on SmackDown. So it's like, if one door opens and you take advantage of those opportunities, man, just let make it go, and let's, don't make excuses, just get after it. Been a big fan of Joe for a long time, and I feel like he tries, and it seems like ever since he came to WWE, ever since he came to NXT, he's just had a renewed motivation, and it's been really cool to see. If you also follow us over at Watch Wrestle Pod, I'll be kind of updating all the different things that I possibly can, throwing out signings if people are in town. I'll let you guys know all that. So keep it locked in. My goal with this, and I'll be perfectly honest with you guys, like, my goal with this entire Watchalong Wrestling podcast is something that, honestly, man, I'm doing because it allows me to kind of have like a life journal, so to speak. I love to freaking reminisce. If you ever come and you talk to me about, you see me at a show or something, stop by, say hello. I spoke to a couple guys over at the Progress New York City show not long ago, last week, who did recognize me, and we had a great discussion. It was just freaking awesome just to chat with everybody and those guys, just talk about wrestling. And that's exactly, like, this is exactly what I'll do. And, it's just fun to kind of be out there and to talk with people about their experiences watching live wrestling, my experiences watching live wrestling. That's it's always been the hope here with this. And I mean, honestly, it started because my wife works nights, and it just kind of, I had some abundance of time. I was usually watching the network and, doing, random crap, random work stuff while the network was on. figured why not pay attention to what I'm watching and chat about the experiences with each and every one of you guys out there, and you know, maybe give you guys an idea to do the same. And you know, that's I'm trying to tweak things that I'd want to see if I were necessarily going out there. That's why I do like different types of you know, yesterday we had a couple different polls asking what match you're most excited about, which SmackDown match, which Raw match. And I know there's people that are coming in, and if you're following me on Twitter, I want you to be able to utilize that. So I'm going to be letting you know, hey, WWE's live talking about this. WWE, there's an autograph signing going on here. If you're going over there, let's check it out. And send us a photo, and I'll retweet your shit. I don't really care. If you follow me, I'll follow you back, and we'll have a lot of fun. So. Hey, Corbin's doing his thing, man. What's funny about Baron Corbin is my wife's a huge fan. My wife thinks Baron Corbin is a good-looking son of a bitch when he's got the beanie on. Yeah, takes the beanie off, not nearly as much, but when he had the beanie on, she thought he was a good-looking guy. So my wife really likes Baron Corbin and his matches, and so because of this, you know, doesn't really appreciate when I say that the Corbin matches are not the most entertaining, so to speak, to kind of figure out there. And that's the end. Cohina clutch. Good night. We made it through the Baron Corbin Samoa Joe match, and away we go. Joe's music is so freaking awesome. How do you hate a guy with music that makes you just want to go? Hang on. Let's turn it up here. Just freaking vibing to freaking Samoa Joe's music, man. It's such a low. This might be the low key theme of the WWE is Samoa Joe's music. And don't get me wrong, I love the the Burn It Down with Seth Rollins, with the you know, like the Revivals theme. A couple different themes I like, but Samoa Joe's is right up there. Really good. The Velveteen Dream as well. Loving the Velveteen Dreams theme. I'm excited because I am going to be able to go see the Velveteen Dream for the first time live this weekend as the Velveteen Dream. I've seen him as Patrick Clark on the Indies, but being able to go and see him as the Velveteen Dream, dude, I'm stoked. I'm stoked for that. It's my first time seeing him. It's my first time seeing Adam Cole. So Adam Cole in NXT. I've seen Adam Cole on the Independents, but cool to see them. Super excited to see my guys over in Mustache Mountain. I saw them at Progress and met them a couple of times, and they're just freaking awesome. So good times. Sorry, there's a little update that popped up here. Sometimes the screen goes to the side and it pops up with like iCloud preferences or some stuff. So the first time this happened, I remember freaking out, thinking, "Oh my God, I lost the middle of the podcast." Once you're live, it's hard to be like, "Hey guys, we're back on." So, all right, so check this out here. Ric Flair, Sergeant Slaughter, and Kana. You notice Kana over there? Kana is Asuka. And so this is Asuka's unofficial debut in the crowd there. I remember being utterly confused as to who Kana was, and little did we know, she would never lose throughout her entire time in NXT. And there's Team Bad, Naomi and Tamina. Naomi's been around for a while either, and that's a shame because I really feel like that glow is a lot of fun. And, you know, that was about a year or so away from her kind of being on SummerSlam with the glow. The only SummerSlam I've actually attended here in Brooklyn, SummerSlam 2016. She had the glow entrance, and that's a fun entrance, man. You go down there and you watch Naomi's entrance live. That's a good time. But here she was still doing so Stephanie McMahon. Don't recall this at all. See, so this is still in the early incarnations of NXT. So they'd still have your appearances by like Triple H. They'd still have like Stephanie McMahon. Mostly Triple H would be like the guy that would show up at most of the shows to get the huge pop, and people would lose their shit over it. I remember him showing up at the show I referenced earlier, the show that was a couple days before WrestleMania 31. And he showed up and was talking about all the people in the back there watching the show, and then said something like, "But none of you guys care because you're here to see NXT." And even though that was true, it took them to be a little while to realize it was true, right? Like, it took them a little while to see that. So this is the beginning of the WWE Women's Revolution. So let's listen to Steph here, see what she has to say. Especially because I do not recall this at all, despite being sitting there, despite being here live for it. Steph doesn't get the cheers that Triple H does, even when she's super babyface here. If you think, if you're listening to what Steph is saying here, this isn't, well, I'll let you finish up on this. Crowd is ready for it. All right. So as they go through this whole entrance here. Izzy. The beginning of Izzy Mania. So these little Steph come out there. She is the face of the Divas Revolution. And I do not even recall them ever talking about the Divas Revolution at all. I don't recall this one bit. But I guess it started out as the Divas Revolution. I guess it makes sense. But they're talking about pretty cool because you're seeing how all the women in NXT are going over and having fun with it. So that is pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna let the folks know here, if you are over on Twitter, that we're getting ready for Sasha Banks and Bayley. Let's see here. Folks know we're getting ready to watch for Sasha Banks versus Bayley from NXT Takeover Brooklyn. One of the greatest matches in NXT. Watching along right now. Come join us and send. I should predispose a couple of these deals. So they're trying to show right now that Charlotte and Becky and everyone are kind of moving up, but at the same time, Bayley's staying down, and at the same time, Bayley is starting to really become a much bigger deal in NXT. And Izzy is, at the same point, becoming a bit of a star in her own right. For those who don't know who Izzy is the young girl who's dressed like Bayley, sitting front and center, front row, and getting really into the, the Bayley character, looking like mini Bayley, and was there at most of the different shows. I'm assuming she lives down in Florida because she's almost always, at least back then, was in the crowd for NXT. Looks maybe 5, 6, 7 years old. And Izzy was so into and lived and died by every single thing that Bayley did and really kind of also jumped into kind of what Sasha Banks was doing as the boss, and really kind of exploding that character and kind of everything going on with that. So good stuff, and this is really this is the peak of the Bayley character, and you see Bayley and Sasha. God knows what they're doing with them right now. It's been one of the stranger storylines, but this is NXT Takeover Brooklyn Bayley here, and for those who don't know what I'm talking about, there's an Elite figure with Bayley. That is the NXT Takeover Elite Series. Unfortunately, no Dusty Rhodes headband. There should be in that Elite figure. I always try to harken back to the Elite figures, but what's really cool is, so not only do you have the crowd doing the inflatable man arms, but the amount of people that are wearing Bayley merchandise, hugger merch, and with the headbands. That guy who's really getting a mage hug in there on Bayley. Fun stuff, man. This felt like a match where you were like, hey, so, oh, look at that. She's hitting him with the Bayley slap bracelets, the snap bracelets that you go ahead and do that. Bayley just looks like a freaking star here, too. This is, not only does she have the Macho Man, I guess the Macho Man-like, whatever that is, the tassels, so to speak, but she is really getting, she comes across like a legit star. People are stoked to see Bayley. So not only now, so Sasha Banks is, as they say on the kind of someone to wrestle with there, but is so good at being a heel that it's hard not to just, she was just the coolest. And it's a shame, too, like, the fact that these guys, I remember everyone was really into the idea of doing Sasha and Bayley, fan-wise at least. It's going to be Sasha and Bayley at SummerSlam, kind of coming full circle here, especially with these maybe being the final SummerSlam in Brooklyn. It really kind of made sense for them to have that, with them having this feud that's been building up, it seems like, for an eternity, to have this opportunity to have that match at NXT Takeover, at SummerSlam would kind of be like coming full circle. Instead, neither of them are on the show, and it's a shame that I'm not even sure exactly what happened, but it's a shame that it did, because these guys should have more. I mean, what we're about to watch is literally, it's one of the real top matches, and is rated as the top match by Dave Meltzer and the star rating system, so to speak. It got 4.5 stars in the Observer, just outdoing Finn Balor and Kevin Owens, which got 4 stars. The problem really with Finn Balor and Kevin Owens is that it follows this match. It's no disrespect to Finn Balor and Kevin Owens; they have great matches all the time. But following this match, the crowd is just amped and super into everything. So, really good stuff. All right. What's really cool about Bayley is Bayley plays the character, I think, better than anybody, and does such a great job in. Let's see here. Let's take a look here. Sasha Banks, total heel, and also just looking like this is peak form for Sasha Banks. All right, let's take a look. Let's see. Alrighty. we go. And we're good. All righty. Here we go. Sasha Banks and Bayley. I was checking out one of the settings over there, and we're good. Let's settle in. One of the best matches in NXT history. Here we go. Crowd is, I mean, does this not sound like a crowd that's amped up for a big fight feel? There we go. Crowd is doing This Is Awesome here just as they're starting. I might actually be doing Let's Go Bayley, Let's Go Sasha. It felt like an atmosphere like none other two. I could say, like, I don't recall being at a match. I want to say, you know what it was? It was reminiscent. 2015 was an underrated year, I guess, because it was reminiscent of the atmosphere that it was in the Niner Stadium for the first Lesnar Reigns, ironically enough. Excuse me. It's terrible. Sorry about that. Mute the mic. Have a little decency. But it's SummerSlam week. It's SummerSlam week. We're getting excited for SummerSlam weekend here. So, you know, hey, that is what it is. Oh, you know, since we're getting ready for the big matches here, and I've already got this all set up, let's crack open one of these. Leinenkugel Orange Shandy here. These guys are phenomenal. Great choice if you guys are looking for that good summery beer. And I will say, most of the time are not available here in New York City. So we actually got these from the Poconos, but good stuff. So Bayley is... I think the only thing that's kind of annoying is like they built her up as the ultimate underdog. I thought that was one of these deals where not only did they build her up as the ultimate underdog, but they referred to her as the ultimate underdog. And I just thought that was like she is the ultimate underdog. Let her be the ultimate underdog, but no reason to have Stephanie McMahon come out there and refer to her as the ultimate underdog. Maybe I'm just nitpicking. Maybe I'm being a ballbuster for no reason. See here. I believe that referee is still in NXT right now. Just throwing it out there. Shout out to that ref. Now, this actually, even though Sasha Banks is a part of Team Bad, and even though really Team Bad was, even though they were Team Bad, I don't know that they were necessarily heels. I think that they were being built up as kind of tweeners, whereas like your baby faces were clearly Team PCB, Paige, Charlotte, Becky. Your heels were definitely the Bella Twins and Alicia Fox. But, you know, that being said, Sasha Banks is a major heel in NXT. And then, you know, and the crowd loved to hate her. They do the Sasha's Ratchet chants. If you remember those Sasha's Ratchet, no, she's not, the dueling Sasha Banks chants. But Sasha Banks also, on top of this, is currently going through the period of time where she's ending her NXT run. But this is not her last match. If you remember, the last match for Sasha in NXT would actually be at the next NXT Takeover, where her and Bayley would have an Iron Woman match. And that is where, in my opinion, Izzy plays the absolute best role, because Sasha literally goes over, mocks her for crying, and plays like the ultimate heel. And then obviously the end of the match, They all say goodbye. The entire crowd comes out for Sasha Banks, give her little flowers, and away we go. And she moves on. But very cute of Bayley to show a little respect there to Dusty Rhodes. Just remember, Dusty Rhodes, he was not, even though he had passed away earlier this year, it wasn't like he was long gone prior to this. He was like in NXT. He was there for the beginning of the Tough Enough episodes, helping out, helping to scout the talent for Tough Enough. And then, unfortunately passed away. And it was something that was tough in particular because it came out of left field and it was difficult. This actually is going to end up being, we're going to be done a little after midnight, but this will be one of the earlier episodes in which things, ended a little bit earlier for us on the Watchalong Wrestling Podcast. Next week, by the way, we'll do a Watchalong Wrestling Podcast. It will likely be, I want to say Thursday, though, or maybe Tuesday after SmackDown. Stay tuned for that because of the fact that next Wednesday I'll be at Citi Field. And not only will it be at Citi Field, but I'll be there for WWE Night. So we're really starting off the week here for me as a WWE, for WWE stuff. Not only do we have the Watchalong Wrestling Podcast tonight, and then all the events coming up, but it ends and culminates next Wednesday, WWE Night at Citi Field, where it's going to be, I think it's something like, I got like a field level ticket, I got a hot dog and a soda voucher and a popcorn voucher, and a meet and greet with Kurt Hawkins, Mickie James, and Jeff Hardy, which is kind of one of my main reasons for going. I never got an opportunity to meet Jeff Hardy, so I'm excited. I'm stoked for that. That'll be fun. And all takes place at Citi Field next week. So with that being said, follow me along on Twitter at WatchWrestlePod, at Tommy on the Spot. There will be a Watchalong Wrestling Podcast next week. I will announce what it is because I have an idea. And we'll kind of see where it goes from there. Just basically, next week's Watchalong Wrestling Podcast is based on what happens at SummerSlam. So I'll leave that as your hanger. But 2 weeks from tonight, or 2 weeks from when we do the Watchalong Wrestling Podcast, we're going to be back, Highway to Hell, culminating SummerSlam 1998. We're continuing our journey each month, looking back at 20 years ago. And we have King of the Ring over there. We have Fully Loaded over there. We'll be doing SummerSlam 1998, one of the most fun SummerSlams. That'll be in 2 weeks. Next week, we'll have something else fun for you, and we'll figure that out as we go along. So keep it locked in. And even though this match got 4.5 stars from Dave Meltzer, it was only one of 2 matches that got 4.5 stars from Meltzer during SummerSlam weekend. This match and the Rollins-Cena match at SummerSlam proper the next night in 2015. That was a match where Jon Stewart came out, cost Cena the match, and it was fun. And I remember we ended up. Oh, the chain. This was wrestling. I thought we were doing women's wrestling, but this is during the time period where I did not go to SummerSlam that year again. I feel like we had something, or maybe tickets were just way too pricey. We did go to Takeover, and then we also went to Raw the night after. Might be a red herring as to what you can expect on the Watchalong Wrestling Podcast next week. We'll see. I can't tell you guys that Monday or Tuesday I'm going to do the Watchalong Wrestling Podcast or even my breakdowns of Raw because there's a chance I'll be there for those shows. If they're affordable shit, I'll go. Bring it on, man. At this point, let's blow it out of the box. Let's end SummerSlam in Brooklyn the best way possible and get down to as many shows as we possibly can. Even trying to work on something for Friday. So it's going to be a monumental week. Tune in because it's going to be fun if you subscribe here on this YouTube channel, if you're into all that different types of stuff and everything going on. So check it out. Sasha taking Bayley's hand, putting it into the staircase, and then kicking the stairs. to crush her fingers in between. That is some unique shit right there. That's good stuff. Ice. Sasha, the little throwback to Rey Mysterio there, flying over the referee and to the outside. Rey doing it at SummerSlam 2002 in New York at the Nassau Coliseum, so that's really cool. We, by the way, for this show, super nosebleeds. Super nosebleeds. All the way in the back. Like, do not worry, you will not see us on this show because we were all the way in the back, to the right, behind the Tron. But at Barclays Center, you can see wherever you sit. And I remember getting tickets for this and them being super affordable. And so we went, and then the show ended up selling out, and very tempted to wait, too. So I was glad that we ended up getting them early. Oh, gosh. Straight slap to the face there. Man, Sasha was killing it here. I mean, this is probably like peak Sasha Banks. I mean, it's peak Bayley, but this might also be peak Sasha Banks, where she was just throwing caution to the wind. And this is probably before Sasha's had injuries on and off a little bit, and this was before any of those, and she's coming off like a freaking beast. You guys have any thoughts on the show? Folks who are tuning in right now live, thanks for doing so, by the way. Very cool. I feel like I've had a variety of folks watching along with me here. It's been awesome, and that's been a lot of fun. If you guys would like, leave yourself a little comment and some memories of the show as well, and I'll read them right here on the air. Ooh. Tons of fire out of Bayley, and at the time, Bayley was freaking. She doesn't do that move. I don't know if she still does the whole when she dips all the way back and spins around and then comes at him with the elbow to the corner there. That's really unique, freaking great stuff. It would be so cool if these two showed up on Sunday and just wiped out everyone in the ring and laid roughshod to Charlotte, Becky, Carmella. People have given up on these two so quick, and I'm confused by it because they're both really good in the ring, and it's not their fault that they've kind of been booked not in the best light, but it's a shame the crowd's kind of given up on them, at least for right now. And who knows, maybe they'll turn it around. Maybe they'll have a good match between, somewhere down the line and continue with the tag team. So yeah, even though Bayley, she really was built as the underdog, probably better than anybody. And I actually remember listening to, I believe it was Wrestling Observer Radio with Dave Meltzer, Brian Alvarez, and they were talking about how they thought Bayley was going to be like the female equivalent of John Cena at the time, like the next huge star in WWE. And unfortunately, just booking really killed Bayley. Booking some of that stuff about never kissing a boy, and then also doing some stuff where, trying to doing a deal where she was like not really, where she said something like that she cheated to win the title and agreed. Yeah, I totally did. I cheated to win the title. It's like, huh? Wait, what? Weird. Very weird. Weird period of time. Crowd is just losing their mind over everything here. And when you have a hot crowd, like this past Monday, Greensboro Coliseum, shout out to them. They were freaking awesome. I mentioned them during my Raw thoughts, and they were doing great, and it was really cool to see. Belly to belly. Crowd. Living and dying with every single near fall. That's what you love in a wrestling crowd. A crowd that has showed up. They love the people they love, and they're ready to have a great time. And it's cool to see because Brooklyn can be a brutal crowd, too. They've turned on people that they shouldn't necessarily have turned on. They've chanted some really crappy things at the women the night after SummerSlam. But when they're into who they're into and when they show up and they're excited to be there, not many crowds like Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. Get a DM on the Twitter here. Stop bouncing. I apologize for that. Going for the belly to belly. Oh, Hurricane Rana off the top. Oh. Sasha throwing Bailey right off the top there. Comes crashing down. And it hurts inside. Wow. Oh. Caution to the wind. Sasha with double knees off the top rope, landed right like on the shoulders of Bailey and into a pin. I mean, that's freaking great. You're watching this and it's like you don't even realize that these two people are still in WWE right now. Like Sasha and Bailey are not, they should be freaking leading the women's divisions right now, and they're just locked in this really kind of strange, never-ending back and forth feud that, you know, they should have matches like this on freaking pay-per-view. This would be a highlighted match at SummerSlam. Hopefully they get that opportunity at the women's the WWE Evolution pay-per-view. If not elsewhere. Hell, why even at Superstar Showdown even there? You know, that'd be fun. That'd be cool. Both of them going up top. Oh, freaking amazing. And listen to the crowd. Losing their mind. Hurricane Rana. Reverse off the top. Bailey to belly. And that match flew right by, man. That was freaking awesome. Even watching it on the comeback there, that might have been the first time I'd watched the match on. No, it's not. I'll explain. When we met Sasha Banks over at the iPlay America. Shout out to iPlay America. They had some great events. And when we did, they played the match, and the whole crowd was waiting to meet Sasha Banks. Jumped up for joy with every single near fall. Did 1-2, counted him down. It was fun, and this is great, man. What a freaking great moment this is. Glad to kind of relive this here. And again, like, that was probably about a 20, 25-minute match. It felt like 10. Like, man, when wrestling's good, it's fucking great. Gotta get my cusses out before the Disney 101 pod tomorrow. We don't curse on the day of Disney 101 pod, but tonight, let's do it. Who cares? SummerSlam weekend, right? Great match, though, and it's a shame that these guys didn't get it, you know, aren't being utilized more. If you just saw that there, Sasha Banks, Bailey, probably one of the top 5 live matches for me. I've been to many WrestleManias, but in terms of just like crowd heat, one way or the other, got to be close to top 5 there. In terms of just the crowd just unglued the entire time and just into literally everything going on. Sasha stomping the feet, stomping the hand of Bayley. Such a good job at just kind of working over a hand. Like, psychology is second to none in this match. And, you know, Bayley, as champ, you know, eventually would go on and lose that title to Asuka. And, you know, it was kind of a deal where Bayley was really one of the faces of NXT there for quite some time. So, awesome match. Can't say enough good things about it. I think it's a top takeover match, a top 5 takeover match, top 5, you know, NXT match. Really, really good stuff. And again, it's, you know, watching this, I can't help but think that freaking Hurricane Rana off the top there, kind of reverse Hurricane Rana. That's crazy shit right there. And then jumping up, boom, belly to belly. Crowd goes bananas. And Bayley is freaking so good at this because when she gets the pin, she loses her mind, jumps up in the air, crying, and kind of goes nuts for it. And that's just like, that is a way before a time when they were able to build up the NXT. I mean, the NXT Women's title there just means so much because of matches like this. Here comes Charlotte and Becky. And, you know, it kind of lets them know that even though Bayley was staying in NXT, she had the chance and still was where they were at. And really, really good stuff. And that's when the 4 Horsewomen were of MMA. We're about a year or two removed from them. And eventually they coined the 4 Horsewomen of NXT with Sasha Banks here. And very, very cool. And it's cool to see that these guys, you know, were able to kind of go through there. And, I mean, hey, at least with Charlotte and Becky, they're still in a women's title match this weekend and are doing their thing. But it's cool to kind of go back and see that they were right in the middle of where they were at. All right, here comes Sasha. She comes in, big hug. Freaking emotional moment. Charlotte's like blowing hard there and just trying to relax herself. She looks like she's gonna cry. And you know what's cool about this moment? I really felt like what they should have done here was have Sasha, because they come back with Sasha Bayley, and Sasha's a complete heel at the next takeover. So to have the 4 of them here is a great moment. But I thought, like, you know, specifically on this big stage, like, can't take anything away from this moment. But if you had Sasha kind of going back and, you know, throwing up the 4s there and 4 Horsewomen, but, you know, you have your moment. I threw up the picture there right in the middle of our, look at the crowd just jumping up and down, dancing, having fun. But in terms of just the crowd, them super into it. Yeah, so I would have done that. I would have had Sasha kind of like looking at them with an utter look of disgust, and then maybe then you have them recreate the moment after the Iron Man match, have them all get back in there. Now Sasha finally embraces them. But hey, pulling at straws, great moment here. They deserved it. An awesome friggin' match, and one of the main reasons why this is such a great card. Though low key, I will say, this is something that I did like that Ball Villains match quite a bit. Seth Rollins, and look who's with him. World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins. I'm pretty sure I know the guy behind Rollins who's giving him super bunny ears. I wish I didn't say that before but look at that. He was sitting there in the front row with Zara, who at the time was in NXT, and there was major heat on. It wasn't really heat or anything like that, but Seth Rollins was, you know, kind of dating her while unfortunately he was engaged, and that's when the nude photos of both Zara and Rollins kind of came about on Instagram, not too far before this, and you know, crazy stuff. So really weird, you know. But so to see them kind of just sitting there is funny. But Sarah would also not make it into WWE much longer. She had some old tweets, man. You know, go back through your history, delete your old tweets, because you never know when they'll catch up on you there. But she had some really bad stuff. I think it was like Nazi stuff and stuff that, like, hopefully none of us have in our old tweets. So that was the end of Zara. But good to see Zara. I don't even know if it is good to see Zara. It's interesting to see Zara in the front row there next to Seth Rollins. I remember that being something that the girls we were with, my wife and one of her friends, were super interested in. And, you know, you got the big, ooh, he's sitting there with Zara, and all that from the female contingent there. So, very funny. Yeah, I do remember Triple H mentioning that to, you know, NXT's going to Australia and tickets go on sale August 28th. You're not going to want to miss this. And that was awesome, and it was cool that they went to Australia. But, like, I think even if you're a super diehard, you know, I think my wife was probably pushing us to go simply so that we could just go to Australia. But if you're not looking to go, we did not go, by the way. But if you're not just looking to go to Australia, it's too much to think someone's going to go to this Brooklyn show and buy tickets for Australia. Kevin Owens in NXT as heel Kevin Owens, freaking awesome. I can't put him over enough. His stuff with Alex Riley, shout out to Alex Riley. That was really good stuff. Such just like an awesome heel. And this led to him showing up and accepting the challenge from John Cena, and in doing so, ended up coming out and saying, you know, John Cena, you know, him then getting that spot basically just after a couple months, getting that spot as NXT champion, now on the main roster. So even though he's on the main roster, he's still the NXT title, so he had to finish up in NXT. And what you're seeing now is highlights from the Japan show that aired live here in the United States on the 4th of July. I'm sure at some point we'll go back and at least watch some of this. This was a great, great special they did. It aired at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I got up and watched it live. Beast in the East. There you go. And I got up, watched it at 3 o'clock in the morning. I freaking love when there's a reason to get up and watch wrestling at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I know that, you know, fans in the UK are probably rolling their eyes like, oh, how would you freaking like to do it every single time? And I sure wouldn't. But on the offshoot, it's fun, man, and it's very, very cool. So, you know, that was awesome. And they ended up having the NXT title match on the WWE show. This was WWE special. Beast in the East is because Lesnar was over there in Japan. And these guys had the match for the title in Japan, and that's where Finn Balor beat Kevin Owens for that title. And funny story, when they had that special that aired at 3 o'clock in the morning, Patrick Clark was in the Tough Enough house, and he was the only one, Velveteen Dream, was the only one who got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch the show live, and he was live tweeting how all of his other housemates were sleeping, and it was fun to see. Good memories of the summer of 2015, 3 years ago as a fan of WWE. And what's kind of cool is that when they do the Superstar Showdown in Australia, airing on my birthday, by the way, October the 6th at 4 o'clock in the freaking morning. I believe it starts at 4 or 5 in the morning. I'll be able to get up super early on my birthday and watch that show, and I will definitely try to do it. Fortunately, I have a wedding to go to on my birthday, too, a little later that night, so I don't know that I'll be able to fill it from there. So we'll see, though. Man, the Demon's such a cool character. I hope the Demon comes back this Sunday. I understand people are like, oh, there's no reason for the Demon. Don't waste it on the match with Constable Corbin. But I love it, man. It's such a unique part of Finn's character, and to see him kind of morphing in and out of it in this video package is really cool. Love the backstage following Kevin Owens walking kind of underneath the arena there and into the arena. Very cool. Very cool visual there. Another great theme song, too. Cool to see, though. You have Charlotte, you have Sasha, you have Becky, you have Kevin Owens. They're all on this show and on SummerSlam. No one's doing that now, but I think it is cool that there's kind of just all hands on deck. Those guys were getting over, so why not? This is when he was badass Kevin Owens. I want this Kevin Owens to show up and destroy Braun Strowman on Sunday. I want this Kevin Owens back in WWE. He's not a cowardly heel. That's never been his thing. Kevin Owens is a badass heel. Look at him over here. Zero redeeming qualities. Just a badass bully type heel. And now he's kind of the cowardly heel. And so much more to Kevin Owens than that, in my opinion. Just my opinion. As we await the demon character. Finn Balor makes his way down. And I want to take this time here to remind you guys that we're going to be back and forth all weekend here on this YouTube channel and on Twitter. We might do some Twitter exclusives. So if you have an opportunity, check us out on Twitter at TommyOnTheSpot, and we'll have a good time with that. So, at TommyOnTheSpot. Twitter.com at TommyOnTheSpot is myself, or at WatchWrestlePod. And we're going to be in and around all the events in Brooklyn all week, including one tomorrow. So keep it locked in. There will be a video tomorrow. And then we'll also do some fun stuff with look at Balor here, man. So freaking cool. Wow. Just an incredible entrance. Every time the demon comes out, I'm almost positive, yeah, this one I think is an elite figure as well, the way that Balor's dressed here for this. Sorry. I to this day love the Balor entrance, and every time he does the hands, the lights go up. Freaking everyone in the entire crowd's freaking doing it with him, and that is one of the cooler deals there in terms of what he's doing and getting people amped for the show. Just kind of waiting for Balor to get in the ring here, and then we'll kind of pick things back up. But want to take this moment to remind you guys I will be back. Breakfast with Tots, Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. We're going to be breaking down all things NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4. Get you ready for that show. We'll talk about all the matches, all the predictions, everything going on with that. And then we'll be back Sunday as well. Breakfast with Tots, breaking down SummerSlam 2018, the big show, 10 a.m. And we'll break down all the matches and have a hell of a time with that as well. So hope you guys are excited for that. And again, I appreciate you guys kind of checking us out, joining us here today. There's the old school NXT Championship, by the way. I always like that. I like the big X and NXT right across there. Look at Kevin Owens. Such a despicable heel. Almost forgot this was a ladder match entirely. Imagine that. So now they want people, you got to give the crowd credit. Not only, they're emotionally exhausted from the Bayley match, but still super into Balor's entrance there and then into everything else going on as well. I do like that in NXT, this is like an old school ladder match. So you had people that were doing their thing, but not only would, but it was one ladder. It wasn't like 100 ladders that were over there. It was just one ladder. Got to get to the ladder, got to climb the ladder, got to take down the belt, and you got to like that. I think that's cool. Oh. Ah, look at that. You got some, and I don't even think you can bring them in anymore. I think they stop you from bringing them in, unfortunately, but you have some streamers there, some indie wrestler type streamers. Very cool. Very, very cool. So badass. Finn Balor looking just like demonic and, pun not intended, but demonic nonetheless. Right. So this is not the first ladder match in NXT, because if you remember during that first NXT Takeover show, it was Bo Dallas versus Neville in a ladder match for the NXT title. Bo Dallas now a champion of Raw. So even though you might not say that all that was going on, even though that Bo Dallas, you can kind of look at him and say, oh, he was world champion in NXT, and now he's not necessarily world champion in material. Hey, you know what? He's got a title. We got to give him that. Oh, let's see here. I'm gonna try to see if I can. Hang on one second here. See if we can actually get someone to join us here towards the end of the show. Let's see here. Or not even. We don't even need to. Let's see. Let's see here. Alrighty. Jumping on here. And moving it in there. And trying to get the link here. Someone might actually join us here. A buddy of mine. Let's see if we can get him on here, who I actually went to the NXT show with. If we can, that'd be cool. can't seem to get in over there. So hopefully over here we can do that. Let's see. We're gonna try to go ahead and at least make the effort. We'll see if we can do it. It's a very last minute deal here, and cool if we can pull it off. Let's see. Alrighty, let's see here. Alrighty. Does not appear. Hang on 1 second here. Okay. Sorry, everybody. I am attempting to gather a guest here to join us at the very last second. And let's see if we can pull it off. Why not, right? So we're about to find that out right now, and let's see. Hopefully we can. Alrighty, and we're on the way. And there we go. All right, so hopefully we'll be able to do that. If not, it's just us, and we're having a good time with it. We've been just us this entire time, and I think we've had fun. So at least I hope so. And we've had, folks coming in and out the entire time, which is awesome. Cannot thank you guys enough. It's been fun chatting with all of you guys and having fun with it. So hopefully we're able to do that. Sling Blade by Balor. I like the old school idea of like when somebody gets the ladder, what I was kind of alluding to earlier, and then someone was like, hey, I'll come join and hang out. And we'll see if we're able to do that. About to find out right now. Ah, there you go. Let's see. Away we go. I see what they're trying to do there. Let me attempt to do this here. I might. Okay, cool. And there you go. We'll see if it goes through. If it does, we'll have a guest join us. If it doesn't, no big deal. We're rocking, we're rolling, and we're enjoying the end of the show here. Typical. One of the best things I used to love about the Kevin Owens character, because Kevin Owens, like, he can straight up go. He can throw sentons. He can get people excited about the way that he does things. So he teases the big run down the apron. He teases jumping in, doing his thing, and instead walks over, slaps Finn Balor directly in the face, and away we go. As I move this a little closer. Oh, gosh. I knocked the whole entire thing down here in the Watchalong Wrestling Podcast studio. We'd hate to do that, so who knows, but indeed. Oh, got a couple likes on there. Thanks you so much, guys, for throwing the likes on the Watch Wrestle Pod here. This has been a lot of fun. This show has just been, 2 hours, 19 minutes. I can't wait to do WrestleMania 32 with you guys coming up in March. 6.5 hours of that show. And it happened. Don't worry. Not happening. Though I do have lots of great stories about that one too, but just not a show I know that anyone's going to want to tune into. And I don't know that a 6-hour show is something that I want to sit here and talk about without a co-host. So we'll see. We'll see kind of what happens from there. Oh, by the way, the official pre-show spot for me when I'm going to the Barclays Center, right across the street, Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, Beers, and Sports. They're not a sponsor, but if you get an opportunity, check them out. It's good stuff. I don't need to sell Buffalo Wild Wings for everyone has, but that one specifically, you go there before a show at the Barclays Center. If you're in town and you go there, it's going to be tons of wrestling fans. People are into the show, and then even funnier, even better than the wrestling fans are the folks who don't have a clue wrestling's going on, who kind of stumble in there just to get a quick bite, and it's like a line out the door filled with wrestling fans, and they're just super confused looking around. It's good stuff. For years, I try to get down there at least once to one of the shows whenever I go. Nothing more fun than going down there a little early. I think we have Takeover coming up this Saturday, and going to be doing a thing. And when we go, hopefully we'll be able to jump on and do Buffalo Wild Wings before that too. Maybe we'll go to Buffalo Wild Wings, broadcast live from B-Dubs before NXT Takeover. I'll have the crew there. We'll be able to chat about everyone's favorite match, what they're excited about, everything like that. Don't hold me to it, though. Oh, there you go. Wow. Drop kick onto the ladder. And if you notice, this is not, not to say there's anything wrong with doing, the craziness and the over-the-top stuff on the ladder, but nothing crazy thus far. These guys have just been brawling, and now the ladder's finally getting into play. And there's only 16 minutes left. So, they've had a solid 10, 15 minutes already without the ladder. Now the ladder comes in there, and we're good to go. Let's see here. Crowd's super into it right now. They're having a hell of a time, and the crowd is they're amped up, and they're super pumped, and they're super excited to be there, and kind of is what it is there. Is there up? Hang on, everybody. Seems like someone's trying to get in here. I don't know if it's working, but someone is attempting to get on, and let's see. Now I've lost the. Is this Juan Carlos? Are you on the air?
I'm on the air, buddy.
You are on the air, and I don't think that. So you were able to jump in, and let's see here. Okay, so you were able to jump in and join us on the air, even though you don't have any actual webcam.
No, I did it through. I downloaded the app, the Hangouts from Google.
Okay.
I was able to get in and do the video podcast.
Very cool, man. So, are you able to see anything right now?
Yeah, I see you wearing a blue shirt, man.
I'm wondering if anyone else can see me right now, but indeed, it looks like.
I hope they don't.
Yeah,
see
it looks like. Yeah, it looks like we are indeed on the air. It looks like everyone can see me. So,
I hope they don't see me.
Juan Carlos, right now, I am currently on the air with the Watchalong Wrestling Podcast. We've watched NXT Takeover Brooklyn 1. This is a show that we went to together.
Yeah.
We brought the wives before they were wives, when they were just fiancés. Or I think were you already engaged at this point?
I don't think so. I mean, when was it? It was what year? Was it 2015?
2015.
Yes,
August 2015.
Yeah, we were engaged. Yes, that was the.
Yes, because you guys got engaged
January,
the day of the Royal Rumble 2015.
Yes, yeah.
Which has nothing to do with your engagement, but being a wrestling fan that I am, I'll always the two will always be hand in hand. It's a shame because the Royal Rumble that year sucked, but neither here nor there. But what's going on, man? So what were your thoughts of the show here? And right now, as we're watching, it's the main event: Finn Balor versus Kevin Owens in the main event, ladder match for the NXT World Championship. But what were some of the things that you were interested in and that you really remember from that show?
Well, I remember getting there a little late because I just got out of work. There was a massive line just to get in. And I believe you left the tickets at Will Call for me, if I'm not mistaken. And while I was making the line to get the tickets from Will Call, I ran into Rosenberg that does ESPN, and he does Hot 97, and now he does like the pre-show for WWE.
That's actually true.
Yeah, he was there. Yeah, and I ran into him. Yeah.
And you spoke with him too, right? You got to talk with him a bit?
No, I don't know because I was running late, so I didn't get a chance to when he had like some people there that was chatting with him. So I didn't want to like get in the middle of it, you know. So I just wanted to get the tickets and run up and start the show, you know, honestly. And I had fun. I don't remember much. I just remember the Finn Balor. The he came out with the whole face paint.
The demon.
The demon. Yes, there you go. There you go. And I remember I think it was Bailey and Sasha Banks. I think that they had that the women's for the women's championship. I think it was. It was really good, that match. Actually, it was Bailey and Sasha.
Yeah, we
Banks.
did. That one just finished about 10, 15 minutes ago, and it was something that was
one of the best I've seen.
Really remembered there. It was really cool to go back and watch that match. I forgot how great it was. I mean, I knew it was great, but that was a really great match. And
yeah, I feel like that match kind of started this whole WWE Women's Revolution thing. You know, that might it's the starting point. I think it feels like it. You know.
Well, so they announced and they showed the kind of the video package right before the match. They announced the Women's Revolution a couple weeks before, but I feel like that match really kind of let it know, like, hey, the women's wrestling it's here to stay now, and women's wrestling the women are going to have great matches just like the guys, and it's no longer going to be your pillow fights, your evening gown matches, or anything like that.
Yeah, it did. It was kind of like the starting point. You're right. It kind of like started picking up steam after that match. It was such a huge success. You know, it was good. Great match.
Yeah, very, very good stuff. So, I mean, definitely I thought that match was really good. I don't know if you recall this, but if you remember, I had recalled it earlier. Apollo Crews made his debut on this show. Oh, there you are. Carlos, you're on? Yeah. I can't see you, but you are now on the Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear, man. And I just got out the shower, man. I'm sorry if that's too much information, but if you could.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, man.
It's all good.
My hair is all wet.
Yeah, no, I hear. I could see you on our actual YouTube feed, and this is the first time I've been able to see you on my actual little gimmick here. I can't see you in the Hangout itself. I can't actually see you. But then we flipped over, and I saw that you definitely did just get out of the shower. So thanks for joining us. It's such late notice, too, and getting on here to talk about it. But if you remember, I spoke about it earlier when Apollo Crews made his debut. We used this as our opportunity to go get drinks and use the restroom and do our thing. And in doing so, somebody refused to let us leave and didn't want us to leave because they were
yes.
They
I remember that.
You remember that? They wanted us to support the newcomers.
Yeah, Brooklyn, Barclay's known for that, for, being rude, and they don't like when people get up because it's such a small little walk area once you get out the aisles, It's kind of dangerous, actually. Poorly built by Barclays Center, actually.
For sure, yeah, you've got it.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, I remember it was like, people there are really kind of, don't get on those people's wrong side. If they're doing something where they think that you're not doing something the right way, they'll tell you for sure, and not be shy about that.
Oh, they told us, all right.
They sure did.
Yeah,
absolutely. So what's really cool about this is not only did Juan, Carlos, and I go to this show, Takeover Brooklyn 1, but we are going back to Takeover this year, Takeover Brooklyn 4. Are you excited for this weekend show?
I am. I'm looking forward to it.
It should be a great time. We're gonna have a lot of fun with it, and I don't know what your plans are, but I think the crew is everyone's hoping to get down to Buffalo Wild Wings either before or after. I was talking about how that's kind of the hub where all the wrestling fans kind of gather beforehand or afterwards and do that. And so if you have the availability, we'll try to do that.
Yeah, I'll be getting out of work at 4:30, and I work by the Upper West Side. So from there, I can make my way down there to Brooklyn. What time?
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, what time does the show begin? 8 o'clock?
No, show starts this year. NXT Takeover starts at 7. They have, I believe, the pre-show stuff starting a little earlier at 6:15. So if you get down there 4:30, 5 o'clock, whenever you get out. You said you get out at 4:30?
Yeah, so I'll probably be there like maybe 5:15, 5:30. You know, the weekend subways are a little slower than
A
usual.
little off. Yeah, and then I mean
Yeah.
we'll have the car. We'll have the car, so be able to give you a lift home after that.
Okay, sounds great. I mean, I'm down for before or even after, either one. You know, I'm off then the following day. I'm off
Awesome.
Sunday,
Yeah, I mean,
so
honestly, it should be fine doing whatever. I mean, the show's going to end pretty early. It's not going to be a late night. So
yeah. I'm down, man. I'm down to hang out before and after. Sounds good to me. I'm open for that. Maybe we'll bump into some wrestlers. You never know.
you never know. Maybe they're done. They want to be swarmed by the fans. They want to come grab some grub. It'll be a good time. So
Yeah.
looking forward to it, and it should be a really fun weekend. And do you have any last minute thoughts here on going to take over Brooklyn 1 in 2015?
I remember having a great time. I remember afterwards, with I believe it was David was there.
He
And
was not actually. We
no, he
left him
wasn't.
home.
Oh man, I thought he was. Well,
Nope, it was
I
just
remember that you wanted like a T-shirt afterwards, and I don't know if I think you bought one. I think you did. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we ended up taking him to Raw the night after SummerSlam that year.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, is he gonna be with us on Saturday? He is, right?
He'll be there. It'll be myself. It'll be you. It'll be
Toby, right?
David and Toby. Yeah.
Yeah.
Toby's
great.
Toby's first wrestling. I'm not even sure if he has a clue what NXT is, but he wanted to come, and it'll be a fun time. So.
Well, his homie's gonna be at City Field in next week, so he could go see him there.
Oh, that's right.
Curtis Hawkins.
Because Mets hooked you up, right?
Well, yeah, they gave me like a fan appreciation. They gave me 4 tickets for free, so I just gotta redeem them.
Very cool.
Well, what's the section again that you
we're down in section 106. So
okay, I'll look into those. All right.
Yeah, we're in 106, row 36, 16, 17 are our seats. Okay. And if everyone else is out there, they're watching and they want to swing around and say hello.
Yes, definitely. We'll do that.
Yeah. So, but it'll be a fun week. So, thanks so much for joining us here tonight on the Watchalong Wrestling Podcast. The feed is held up on the network perfectly this week. Last week it was choppy as hell, and now as we're tuning down here for the last couple minutes of the match, it's crapped out. But neither here nor there. It was cool to have you come as a little surprise here. And was that also was that your wife? Was that both of your first live wrestling show takeover?
It might have been like actual live. Yeah, it might have been like a big event. Yeah, because we've gone, but it was house shows. That was the first live show. Actually, you're right. Yeah, it was.
Awesome.
It was,
very cool. So a monumental show for you in many ways, and we'll make our way back to NXT Brooklyn this Saturday night. And thanks so much, man. I appreciate you stopping by.
Definitely, man. I'll see you Saturday.
All right, take care.
Thanks for having me, man. I really liked the show. First time I've been. Yeah.
Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, and good stuff. I appreciate it.
All right. I'll see you guys. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. Bye.
And he's, Juan Carlos has dropped out of the call now. I'm hoping that everybody who's watching can see me. I pulled up the feed of the little show there, of the show. So hopefully you guys can still see me there. This is my first time doing it where you could actually see kind of what's going on there. And cool to have guests, man. That's always been the hope has always been that we can get a guest on here to chat about certain things and to do so while everyone here is together. So, that's, in my opinion, what it's all about. That's, being able to not only to remember me and not only to go through my memories of the show, but also to talk about kind of where I'm at in terms of my memories of the show, but to be able to chat with Juan Carlos there and get his memories of the show and to see kind of what they're at. And now, where I'm at, by the way, I'm at towards the end of the match. Finn Balor's just thrown Kevin Owens off the top of the ladder. That was a very last minute. I had no idea. on my perspective right now, I couldn't see him at all. So the man was just got out of the shower, but he picked up and clutch stuff right there from Juan Carlos. So I got to give him credit on that. Good to see him, and good to hear his memories of his first wrestling show. A lot of people, if you remember your first live wrestling show, it's a lot of fun, and good to hear his thoughts of this show and everything else included. So a lot of fun. So Balor is now going up here. We're at 2 hours, 15 minutes. I'm going to try to refresh this here. Ironically enough, in the midst of while I was doing talking with Juan Carlos, the feed actually crapped out a little bit. And this feed has been so freaking perfect. If you watched last week, SummerSlam 2013, the feed couldn't have been worse. Feed was awesome. So unfortunately here towards the end, we lost it right at the end here, and that kind of sucks. That being said, though, I mean, it's been here most of the show, and really, really good stuff. I do apologize if we veered kind of off script there, but I wanted to get Juan's perspective of what it's like, for more of a casual fan. He doesn't tune in every single week, kind of how we do, but I loved seeing, both him and his wife enjoy the show there together, and with me and my wife. And it's always fun when Juan brings his wife along as well, and she's a super casual fan, but seeing my wife be able to enjoy the show with her friend is it's always a lot of fun, and so it's very, very cool. And now the feed comes right back on here. I was nervous we weren't going to be able to get the end. The feed is there. Finn Balor reaching for the title. We're at 2 hours, 15 minutes, 30 seconds. Oh, taking him in the head there. And I don't recall. Okay. He's going to go for coup de grace. I was like, I don't recall him just winning the title so melodramatically there. A real shame that this feed is crapping out here with just 2 minutes left. But if that does occur, I will try to refresh it one more time. If it does occur, we're gonna wrap things up. I think that ending it on a high note there, having Juan Carlos come on, talk about the show from his perspective. That's what the goal here is on the Watchalong Wrestling Podcast. I would love to chat with you guys and go through my life's journey of what's going on. But to get somebody on even for 10, 15 minutes and talk to them about what they remember on the show is what it's all about. Balor's now up on the ladder. He's going for coup de grace. And here he goes. Bang! Coup de grace. And away they go. And that's basically that. Weird. All right. Balor gets up. Balor wins the belt. And you figured as much. This was kind of like, hey, now it's Finn's era. What I liked about NXT is, like, they really don't. I mean, I guess with the exception of Andrade, they are not really too big on. No, Andrade had a little bit of a run, actually. No, I'll take that back. They do a good job in letting each person who wins the main title in NXT have that title for an extended period of time. And Bo had it for a long time. Even before that, Rollins, Big E, Bo, those guys had the title for a long time. And then in the new era, it was like you had the Neville era, right into the Sami Zayn era, right into the Kevin Owens era, right into the Finn Balor era, right into the Samoa Joe era, and so on and so on. And everybody gets that opportunity. And you can, I mean, that's how you establish championship reigns. And this was a fun show, man. I love the heck out of this show. I mean, a little after 12, about 12:15. But certainly if we can start these shows at 9:30, 9:45, I feel like end of the show, 12:15, 12:30. I definitely saw some people who were in there this time, and that's always fun, and I appreciate that. And hopefully, as we continue, you guys will be jumping in on the chat and having a hell of a time from that. So thanks so much for checking us out. I really appreciate everything. You guys are the best, and check us out tomorrow as we do this. If I was off screen here, I do apologize. Once Juan came in, it was hard for me to view myself on the Google Hangouts gimmick, but I see that the camera's still going, so at least that's good. Until next time, everybody, this has been Tommy on the Spot. Finn Balor walks away with the title. Who will walk away with the title this week? Will it be Johnny Gargano? Will it be Tommaso Ciampa? We'll be back on Saturday to review all of that. But again, keep this locked in. We'll be back tomorrow with something really cool for you guys right here on this YouTube channel. This has been your main man, Tommy on the Spot, for the Watchalong Wrestling Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Tommy on the Spot or at WatchWrestlePod. We'll talk with you guys in a bit. It's SummerSlam weekend. Let's have some fun. Until next time, everybody, thank you so much, and we'll be back again real soon. And talk with you guys again from NXT Takeover Brooklyn 1. We're saying good night.